Hi everyone, Linda Reed-Enever here, and welcome back to another BBB Skills webinar. We are lucky enough that Ben has decided to get out of his bed at 2 a.m. in the morning and join us to share his tips on successful social media habits and missing letter. Now, I know a number of our members have taken up the missing letter offer that we had earlier in the year, and congratulations on all sharing your blog posts and getting the most out of them. And if you haven't seen the video on YouTube and you're just contributing to sites like Big Media Connections, jump onto my YouTube channel and make sure that you see how to use your guest author feeds as well. Now, Ben and I have got an incredible 3 or 4 second delay today, so as much as those of you who can believe this, I'm going to try not to interrupt Ben as much as I can, but make sure you put your questions in the chat box, and we might leave questions out. See, live video is awesome. We might leave answering those questions to the end of the day. I might grab a little bit more coffee. I'm sure Ben's got some coffee on his end there today as well. And I would like to welcome Ben from Missing Letter to say hello to everyone. We've just got a few more minutes, Ben, so we might start a general chat.
Sounds good to me, yeah. Let's see how this delay goes.
Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so Benjamin Dell, founder at Missing Letter. I've spent my adult working life in tech in various guises. So I've run and created a number of startups, mostly failures, sold one. I also run a web agency for the last 10 plus years as well. So I've done it all really, and found a few common threads throughout that have really informed decisions that I've made when launching new startups, and in particular Missing Letter, which I'll perhaps touch on later. And we'll talk about
Ben,
why.
you and I might turn the webcams off. I reckon we'll go better just audio.
Sorry? Is the delay too bad?
I'm going to turn my webcam off.
I'm guessing it is. Okay, can I turn mine off?
Yeah, I think we might turn the cameras off and just go audio for a little bit.
Okay, Let's give it a go.
There we go.
Cool.
That's less drag on the web.
Well, people can't see now how good I look at 2 in the morning, which is
That's
travesty.
a bit shocking, really, isn't it? Oh, our numbers are coming in. Our members are coming in. Guys, thank you for joining us. We are excited to be hosting another BBB Skills webinar. Ben and I will come back on screen very shortly and do the official launch and have a bit of a chat. But, you know, it's 2 in the morning in the UK, so we are thanking Ben for joining us in that particular area. We're thanking you guys for joining us. We're just going to give it, there's another minute till 11. I am loving seeing our members excited and here early. Does anyone think that I might be early in most of the stuff that I do? And for those of you who don't know, on the Facebook page, on my Facebook page, not the BBB one, as part of the Facebook Live Challenge at 12:30 today, I'm going to share 5 tips with you, 5 questions you should ask that are going to help you write your next press release. So there is a major bonus offer going in for Media Connections in that one there too, and it will be there for 24 hours, guys. So if you're wanting to write a press release, come and join us, and then you can share your release with tools like Ben's. Can't you, Ben?
Hey, I like the link.
I know, nice meet. That was a nice match. You guys are in for a bit of a fun today, guys. Ben and I both tend to work off the cuff, so it's going to be a bit interesting.
Well, a complete disaster, but hey, that's you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
There's Welsh blood in us both, Ben. That's what it is.
Yes, yeah, we noticed a commonality there yesterday. We have a Welsh tie.
Well, we have just hit 11 o'clock. We might just turn the cameras back on for 2 seconds, do our intros, and then we'll get straight into the presentation. I do apologise for the lag and delay, guys. We'll go audio and screen presentation for most of it, so hopefully the lag won't be too bad for most of the day. So I'm just going to go on live for a minute and we'll get started. Hi guys, welcome back to another BBB Skills webinar. We are joined by Ben, who's now currently on the other side of the screen from Missing Letter. Ben is a tech developer. He's an entrepreneur, and just like us, he's in business. So he's coming to join us to share his skills on what he's learned on successful social media marketing habits and the opportunities for you to be able to get there and share your knowledge. Now, we have a really, really bad delay happening between the UK and here at the moment. Ben is joining us at 2 a.m. So I'm going to turn my camera off so Ben can introduce himself, and then we'll go into audio mode for a bit of a quick discussion and some Q&As in chat, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Yeah.
There we go, Ben.
Thank you. Well, thanks everyone for joining. I hope I look okay at 2 in the morning. We'll see how this one goes. Thanks so much. So yeah, I'm Benjamin Dell, founder at Missing Letter, and I've been running Missing Letter for just over a year now. Drop the camera. Super active. Will I drop the camera? Is the delay too bad?
Yeah, delay is too bad.
We've lost the face, but you've got the voice.
Can't see how amazing you look.
So yeah,
we can't see how amazing you look, but it's all good.
We'll just have to take
I'm getting to the stage. It's better if we're not doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, this webinar today is really going to be about social media, and in particular the habits that we can form behind the activities that we sort of carry out on social media, and how they can either serve us or serve to prevent us from reaching our potential. And there's some really basic truths in there that in reality I think a lot of us fail to pick up on, and as with anything, it's pretty much common sense, but quite often I find it's just being reminded of what those common sense things are that is often enough to remind us what we should in theory be doing to really maximize the potential of whatever it is we're trying to do, and in this case social media. So it's a bit of a back to basics, really. I like doing that, and I find it can be very, very powerful to do that sometimes.
For those clients who work with me, Ben, they know we tend to focus on the basics, and we tend to focus on what works. And I would say a number of our members are doing that. And guys, I met Ben by pure and utter chance. A Missing Letter popped up in my newsfeed one day, and I went, oh my God. And then we popped some blog posts in, and we tested it with one particular blog that was relatively new. Let's put a feed in. And from a publicist point of view and from a marketing point of view, when we run 5 businesses out of here, Ben, the situation is I don't have time to create content for all of those businesses for 12 months. So when you could take care of that for Twitter for me, I went, oh my God, I'll hand you over my credit card. But since then, Missing Letter's grown, it's developed more tools, and it's a really, really funky, awesome tool to be able to get there. And the thing is, it's about going back to the basics. It's about looking at the nuggets and not overcomplicating, repurposing the content that you've already written.
Absolutely. It really is. And it's also trying to be efficient in making sure that the time you do focus, and in this case, creating the original content, so creating your blog content, is capitalized on and is not wasted. So invest the time producing that, and then let's use that to create content for you automatically that we can then share for you on your social channels. And that's what it's all about, really. It's about forming strong habits using your content.
That's awesome. Ben, you've got the presenting option now, so hopefully, fingers crossed, sharing your screen works and doesn't drag too much off the web. So let's
give it a go. So yeah, perfect. So what I thought I would do is we'll just really high level just go through some of those basic habits that I think are integral, and as I said, going back to school and just reminding ourselves what actually is really important when it comes to social media marketing. Because when you think about it, we've got these buzzwords, and there's so many social networks that come out these days, and tips and tricks and all these sorts of things, but really there are still some basic things that we should be doing, and it doesn't really matter what the medium is, what the platform is that we're trying to engage with. We've still got an audience, we've still got people that need to be engaged with, and so we need to focus on those sorts of things. So what I'll do is just got a very, very quick deck that we'll work through, and because of the delay, probably Linda's not going to jump in too much, but if I have a couple of questions, I may just fire it out there and see where that goes. But then I'll do a walkthrough at the end of that of the platform missing letter, and hopefully just show you the power behind the tool and how it might be able to help you. And then we'll probably have a bit of a Q&A at the end. And if all being well, we might have a few questions from you guys ready to go at the end. So let's see if this screen sharing thing
Ask your questions
works
as we go along as they come up, because I don't ever want you to forget them, and we will cover them all off at the end.
Okay, let's have a look. Linda, can you see my screen?
You're coming up. You're loading very slowly, but it does say that it's loading. There.
The connection is not as good as I thought it was. Okay. Can you, if Linda, if you can just tell me if you can see if the main first slide is loaded.
Main first slide is, so you're on current slide 1 of 7 is what I can see right now.
Oh, we're on the wrong screen then. Okay. Switch this over.
That's okay. Now we can.
Okay. Cool. So you can see the first slide? Woo, perfect. Okay, so should we just get straight into the secret formula?
Yes, please.
The reality is that there isn't a secret formula, which probably isn't going to shock too many of you out there. It's really just common sense, as I said, and I know everyone says that, and it's just a thing probably overplayed these days, but it is so true. It might be social media, it might be, in inverted quotes, modern and avant-garde, and you might be, as I said, pushing out onto new platforms that you might not have engaged with before, but that doesn't take away from the basic truths that we still need to do the basic things. We still need to follow common sense. So what does it mean to stick to the basics? Well, let's first of all remember that when it comes to marketing, and in particular social media marketing, time really is a commodity here. It's just critical that we learn to stick to the basics as a result of this. People's time is short. Their attention span is just as short as well. And it's so easy for them to miss what we're talking about because of the nature of a feed, whether it's a Twitter feed or your Facebook feed. So we've really got to think carefully about what we're putting in front of them and have a bit of a plan around that. So there is a basic formula here, and it shouldn't shock you, but it is simply create great content and consistently show up in front of your audience. We've got to get these things right. And if we do that, then of course we can increase engagement and clicks. But these two things are quite difficult to do if we're not thinking about them in the right way. We've really got to do everything we do to optimize around creating great content. Because at the end of the day, if we're focusing too much time on the clever little tools, ironically, even though we have a tool, of course, or little tips and tricks and trying to blast people with the same thing every day on social media, or indeed if we just are trying to overthink the process or trying to overthink everything else, then really what we're doing is we're sacrificing the time that we have to get back to our notepads, our desks, whatever it might be, and to write that content in the first place. So we first of all got to just realize that it's all about optimizing around making sure that we have the time to do that. So as it says here, it's pointless writing great content if we don't have that right process in the first place. So although we're optimizing around creating that great content, we've first of all got to take the time to make sure that we have the right process so that we are giving ourselves time in the future to write that content. So first of all, let's just solve the mistake that most people fail at, and that is sticking to a marketing plan. So we want to form the habit, or quite frankly, we want to ditch it. We either want to form a lasting, healthy marketing habit, or we just want to take that habit out of the equation entirely. And really what this is saying is have a bit of self-awareness to think about what serves you as a type of person you are. So let's just look at a couple of examples here. We could spend a lot of time getting our content out to people by writing long-form blogs, or by doing webinars such as this, or pushing things on social media, but doing more of a diary style format. It almost doesn't matter what it is that you're doing, the nature of what you're doing, but it does matter that you find a process that you can afford to keep up with, that actually fits with what you do. I was reminded of of this example. There's this guy called Steli Efti. He runs a company called Close.io in the States, and he has a lot of great stuff to say. So he's got that great content bit of the formula. He's got a lot of stuff in his head to talk about, and a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and his style is very engaging. But he was finding that he was churning things out and presenting them to his audience in a really, really slow fashion. And it took someone else to show him that the problem there was that he was picking the wrong process. He was, and more specifically, he was picking the wrong medium. So he was led to believe through a lot of common practice out there that he had to write long form bits of content, whether they were ebooks or blog posts or sort of white paper style articles. And he's a visual person. He's a doer. He's not the sort of person that can just sit down and write stuff long form. And funnily enough, it took far too long to realize this. And so he was churning out sort of one a month. And, it was good quality because he did have good stuff to talk about, but it was just taking far too long. And as I say, it took someone else from the outside to help him realize this. And he very, very quickly started experimenting and thought, okay, what might the other mediums be? What might a more self-serving process be that would help me get this content out to my audience? And he started experimenting with video content. And what he would do is he would set up a very, very basic process where he would record a video just off the cuff. Wasn't necessarily designed to be shown as a video, although it could have been, but it was really just as a medium to get the thought and the content out of his head. He would then pass that on to his VA. That VA would then transcribe it, and then it would go back and forwards really, really quickly just to sort of refine the content. And what he very, very quickly found was that he was able to churn out 2 or 3 of those a day. Now, they didn't necessarily publish that many a day, but he was able to get that many drafted up and created. And that's massively powerful. And what he essentially realized was he wasn't forming a healthy habit with the original approach that he was taking. And he ditched it. He wasn't afraid to say, this is not serving me. Let's ditch it. Let's find one that does serve me. And that's just one example. And that's more to do with the content creation. But ultimately, that's also about the delivery as well. And you can apply that sort of theory to anything that you're doing. So, if you're using Buffer and you're finding that every single day you're having to, really think carefully about the content that you have to create, and that's consuming headspace that is critical. We only have a certain amount of critical capacity for critical thought, I should say, per day. If you're spending an hour, coming up with unique content and just to add to your Buffer queue, that might be great if you're happy that it's not eating too much into your time, and 1 hour is proportionally fine for you. But probably it's too much. And so, don't be afraid of ditching that habit and seeking another one, because there are so many different ways of doing things. It doesn't make any sense to stick with things that aren't entirely serving you. So remember, your marketing strategy is really just a means to an end. And what do I mean by that? It's literally just a means to getting your content out there. And what we really want to be making sure we're doing is we're optimizing and automating, if possible, hence missing letter, and we'll talk about that in a bit, our processes, so that really what we can do is get back to writing that great content. And I say writing great content, as I said from that example with Steli Efti, it might be recording great content, or just turning up in your audience's Facebook feeds and sharing a link a day. Whatever that thing is that you want to do, it is ultimately about finding the right content that is of value to your audience. So do every single thing you can to make sure that you are maximizing the amount of time you have to produce that content, whether it's curating the links, writing that long form blog post, recording that webinar. That's what it's all about, because that's where the value lies. So what is an effective marketing plan, or social media marketing plan? Well, it's one that engages with your audience by delivering value, of course. So this again comes back to the fact that we must be producing great content, and we've really got to find ways to engage with our audience. If we're not creating great content, then we're probably not giving ourselves enough time to do that. And of course, once you've got that great content, as I mentioned at the beginning with the formula, it's about great content on one side, combined with a consistent, relevant marketing strategy that will give us the engagement that we want. So what we want is to consistently deliver over a long period of time. It doesn't make any sense to simply be tweeting once a month, or to be doing a single FB live session and thinking that that's enough. We've got to be consistent in what we do, and this comes back to the habit. So have we stumbled upon a habit here that is self-serving, and that fundamentally we can maintain? If we can, then we've got more time for the content, and that's the sweet spot. Yep. So as a recap, find a marketing routine that works for you. Just make sure that it's consistent, and of course that it delivers value. Stick to it, and then get back to creating that great content. So that's pretty much the conclusion at this stage. And I know it's stupidly simple, but I tell you, I ran an agency for the last 10 years, and so many people would, we would create so many websites for people, and they would have great products, great ideas, and they, for all intents and purposes, were the owners of that knowledge in that space, and they'd be great at talking about it to me, and they had so many great ways of getting out to people, but they were failing to invest the time to think about both of those two tenets. How am I going to get it out to our audience so that we're consistently turning up in a relevant and natural way, and how can we make sure that we're producing great content? And if you fail on one of those, you're really not going to be maximizing your potential and fundamentally delivering value to your audience.
I agree. Guys, Ben, you may not be aware, we're doing a Facebook Live challenge over 30 days with the group at the moment. And the reason we're doing that challenge is to break the habit, to break the fear and the habit of not going live. I don't, as I said to everyone who's joined the challenge in the start, we don't particularly care that you don't go live every day. It's about making sure that you've got a habit and a background and being able to get yourself out there and share your information on a consistent basis.
Absolutely. And it is literally about finding the habit that serves you. And we're sort of led to believe that habits need to be daily, as you said. It doesn't necessarily need to be a Facebook Live thing every day, or it can be one that is once a quarter. It's got to be, on the one side it's got to be relevant to you, but on the other it's got to be suitable for the audience as well. So you kind of, you will need to experiment a bit. You'll need to find a routine and a schedule that works for your audience, but also for yourself.
So yeah, I'm not the only one telling you guys basic.
Cool. Okay. So
I said I'm not the only one telling the group to keep it basic, keep it simple. Look at the opportunities to share your information. Now, Kerry Ann Nelson, if you go straight to my Facebook page, you will see the link. So for the Kerry Ann's just asking, is there a link for the Facebook Live challenge? So if you go straight to my Facebook page, I will pop that in here now, and I'll give you the link. Guys, wow, we've got more people joining us here, Ben. So there's a few more people coming in right now. What we've been talking about, though, is the opportunity of being able to share your story via social media and successful habits regarding that. I love Missing Letter, Ben, from the point of view, and I'm going to say this, from the point of view it does save us time, but we are a commercial team here. We do write content. That's what we do. That's what we do for the opportunities of getting our information out there. But sorry, bear with me, just got rolled out of Facebook for a reason there for a moment. We do like sharing our content and sharing our stories and those sorts of things. But for what Missing Letter gave for us, and we don't use it across every platform, because some of our other platforms, they integrate with a bit more of our evergreen and tip-based content. But for our blog post and for our content that gets particularly shared out to Twitter and all of those sorts of things, that's where it became real value to me. For Twitter and for LinkedIn, especially for some of the clients we work with that don't get to post every day. But at least we know by putting Missing Letter in place, we've got that content going out for at least 12 months.
And that sort of backs up to a certain extent that common sense principle again, that at some point, as the business owner, you've got to be responsible and take ownership over your space, over your audience, and understand what's appropriate and what isn't. A tool is not just there as a blunt object to be used no matter what, because by definition, any tool is generic in the sense that it is designed for a generic purpose, and it's down to the person using it to find the best way to make most of it. So in your case, you've very astutely there sort of worked out that there are certain social platforms that would engage with that style of delivery and others that would not. And that's really, really important. It again comes back to that basic formula. Have we got the right content for the right audience? And are we presenting it to them in the right, with the right routine and with the right consistency. Really, really
and
good
then
point
as
there.
an entrepreneur, I know you're in the same boat that I am. I said the word entrepreneur, guys, and you know I don't particularly like it. But as a business owner, I have this issue with labels, Ben, so it's always fun. But, as a business owner who's been there, done that, run multiple businesses yourself, what do you find would be your number one tip in choosing a platform?
So you almost need to take the social media marketing out of that phrase and just
any platform.
Give yourself that word marketing. And when it comes to marketing, when you're left with just the word marketing, you have to answer the question around who is your typical audience member or your typical buyer or whatever the nature is of your business is. Where do they go? Where do they congregate?
Exactly.
And that just goes back to some basic truths there again. Are your audience on Snapchat more than they are on Facebook? And if they are, and you're not, if it's not a platform you're sort of familiar with or comfortable with, then it's important that you take the time to experiment with it and just sort of play with it. So it's really, really important. There is no short answer, basically. There is no right platform for one or another. You've got to find the one where your audience are and where they engage.
Ben, Rose has just asked us, is there a basic calendar, as in what to post and when and where on social media? My answer to that one, Rose, is if someone invents that calendar, they're going to make an absolute frigging fortune. But I will say, and I'll let Ben explain this a little bit more, you've got your calendars and a little bit of time-sensitive tools that you've been working out with your content. So I might let you explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, so I guess there's different ways to look at social scheduling, just more broadly, I suppose. So from the one side, you've got tools like Buffer and other, Hootsuite, where they will try and recommend what they think might be the best times to tweet or post or whatever that delivery is. And that will get you so far, I think. But again, you will probably find that a tool offering that, it's great. It gives you a starting point. But really, it's going to you probably would have looked at those times and goes, well, it kind of makes sense. They're suggesting that I do one at sort of 9 in the morning, just when people get into the office. If it was unlikely they were going to suggest something at 2 in the morning, like Muggins here getting up to do a webinar. So there's that side of it. What time of the day? What day of the week? Probably, if you ask yourself, I would guess that you'd be able to answer that fairly intuitively, knowing what you know of your audience. And if you can't, I don't think it would take too much to do that. So I think there's two answers as to why there aren't any real tools that focus just on that. Probably one answer is it is inherently quite complicated because there are so many variables. And two, I don't think there's anything really too great that we can do, that any one tool can do, that you probably couldn't find out yourself. I personally don't think there's a massive need for a tool like that, because these are things that you should be able to work out yourself fairly easily. And
it comes down to the audience, guys. It comes down to your audience. When are they there? I can tell you, running a family website, running a business website, the parents are there at different time slots to you. So if I want to publish content for them to work, then I'm publishing just after school drop-off time. If I'm wanting to publish content for business owners, then we're publishing just after you get into the office. If we're wanting to publish prime time for our parents, then between 8 and 8:30 at night is when they've got the kids down and they're sitting down with their phone, their glass of wine, their coffee or whatever, and about to watch their TV show. That tells me when the parenting side is. For business owners, if I want to publish content at night, it's between that 10 and 11 time slot that tends to be predictive. But they are in the insights of pretty much every social tool that you use. It's just
yeah, exactly. And
once again, not overcomplicating it. There is going to be no magic pill that will make your social media work, and there is no guru out there that can, they can help you get your content, they can help you with engagement, they can help you with all of that sort of stuff. But no one has the crystal ball sitting there going, there are going to be 200 people online ready to view this post in 30 seconds if you post it.
And ironically, here's the funny thing, though, about social media and just crowd, the logic of crowds, and particularly when we're looking at social media channels, we're talking about, the rules of crowds and everything else. Here's the thing. You could come up with the times yourself, or you could have them recommended to you by a tool, 2 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon and 9. Those are your sweet spots. So you end up doing that and you get some initial engagement. And then 6 months later, you decide to switch it up and you do them, 2 hours before, 3, you randomize it and you do it completely differently. You'll probably find that actually you get a boost in engagement because you are turning up in just a slightly different way, and you're sort of just becoming a bit more relevant to them, and sneaking in, maybe before some of the bigger news stories that they would traditionally see at that sort of time. So again, it can be a teeny bit dangerous to have
preset
times like this sort of recommended to you, because there is an inclination then to doggedly stick to it without feeling the need to just check and measure it every now and again. Come back to what you've based your marketing habits on and ask yourself, right, is this still serving me? Coming back to that habit sort of thing, does it still serve me to be posting this out at 3 in the afternoon? And also, and equally as importantly, is it still the right time to be showing up for my audience? Because we're humans, you're human, they're human, we evolve. And it might be that the audience that you initially engaged with on day 0, or year 1 of your business have matured and are now no longer dropping their kids off at school and are now, having dinner at that time. So it's really interesting. I mean, and this is kind of, nothing stands still, which is fascinating.
That has been 15 years of PR and marketing for me. There is nothing that stands still in time. We've looked at the changes in technology, and I was listening to a radio program last night talking about technology here in Australia, and they were saying the technology that we adapt now that we're a little bit resistant about, but there's always been a conversation that technology is going to take over from the time that Ford released the first motor car. But we learn to live and adapt with that new level of technology time and time again. So guys, it's about getting the technology to work for you, but consistently reviewing and changing every plan, every marketing plan, every business plan, every social media plan, any plan you put in place only works if you work that plan, and those plans only work if you review them and see if they're still effective.
But there is some good news in there, which is when it comes to habit building. As I said in one of my slides, the majority of people fail at this bit. They fail to maintain a healthy marketing schedule or marketing habit. And that's good news, because those people failing, hopefully, are your competitors. So all it really takes, if you want to break it down to something really, really simple, it's all it really takes to get that little bit higher above the parapet for your audience is to find a habit that serves you, that you can stick to. So let's take an example. You've got Bob on one side who decides that he's going to tweet every day, 4 times a day, and push them into his buffer queue, and he's going to retweet or talk about, let's say he created a white paper or something, or a blog post, and he's going to push that out over a long period of time. So he creates a spreadsheet, and for every column that represents a different day, he composes a unique tweet and he gives it a time, and then every day he checks in, not only adds to that spreadsheet, but looks at what's due to be sent out today, copy and paste those, puts it into buffer and schedules them in, and does that every single day. Do you know what? Within about 5 to 10 days or so, that person is probably bored, glazing over, and is getting frustrated, and almost certainly will drop out. And that is a great example of someone who's picked the wrong process. If you can find one that, and by the way, lots of people do use spreadsheets, and that works for them really well. If you can find one that works for you, and you can get past that first sort of 2 weeks of the period, and you've found that habit that works, you are now consistently showing up for your audience where others have failed to do so. And it is the long haul here. It's the tortoise and the hare sort of analogy. You've got to do it over a long period of time, and if you can do that, you're going to be doing a hell of a lot more than the rest of your audience, and that's really where the power comes in.
Guys, Ben's going to take us for a bit of a tour of Missing Letter. Has anyone got any more questions about social media habits or anything? Why we've got Ben here? Because he is, you've got the brains here. It's a good opportunity to ask. Otherwise, I'm going to let Ben take us on a tour of the product and what it can do for you guys. I'm seeing nothing come up in our chat box, Ben, but if anyone's got anything, feel free to type it in, guys, and we'll answer it. But I might let Ben take us on a bit of a tour, and we can see it, and then we can come back for a few more questions and answers at the end.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to share my screen again. Let's give it a go. Okay. Find the right thing to share. And again, Linda, you can be my eyes for this one, of my ears. Can you tell me if you can see the screen?
Okay, Liv.
Can you see
I can see Missing Letter. We're just gonna answer this quick question for Liv. Liv just said that she's finding her Facebook isn't taking off as nearly much as her Instagram. Can we shed any light on it? Liv, actually, Liv, is it the Liv that I know? Is it Green Hip Liv? Can you just pop that in the text box so that I know who I'm talking about? I'm pretty sure it is, but just, yeah, it's green. Okay, so Liv runs a clothing business, Ben. It happens to be a business that serves workwear for women. Okay, in particular, it's a really good style. It's quite funky, and it's quite cutting edge in what she does. Mainly for women working outdoors. So garden. She's been on the block. If you've watched the blog in the Australian show, she's had her clothing appear on those areas. I'd be saying if Instagram's working, focus your time there.
Yeah, and I think there's nothing wrong with it not working on this particular platform. Yep. In fact, information is really, really key in any business. Like what you're telling me there is that you have amassed over a certain period of time some information, some data that is telling you that a particular platform, in this case Facebook, is not working so well. That's brilliant. That's really good. You have information. You've done a bit of market research without you knowing it. And so Don't be afraid to ditch that habit, to ditch that platform, move on to the other one. But of course, as we were saying before, like with the times of the day, don't be afraid to come back, because chances are over time, your audience might be the same, in fact, but you might have discovered new ways to present that information. You might have more, media-rich information that is now, more appropriate for Facebook. So don't be afraid to come back. But I would probably say, you know what, we're gonna double down a bit on the platform that is working, and take it from there.
We're getting a bit of a time delay, Ben. I might let you to a Missing Letter. Liv, I'll come back to that question at the end because I do want to answer it for you.
Perfect. Okay. Is my audio coming through okay?
We're just a little delayed, but not too bad.
Wow, that is a delay. Is my audio coming through okay, though?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Over there? Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So, Missing Letter, let me just talk to you a bit about that. And it's no fluke that the whole topic for this discussion today is about habit building, because fundamentally that was really the genesis behind the launch of Missing Letter in the first place. It was born around this realization that we fundamentally, most of us, do have bad habits when it comes to social media posting. And as a result, we're not spending enough time focusing on writing the great content. And so what we were seeing, and particularly in my agency days, we were seeing that our clients would ask us to build them a blog in a technical sense, and that's great. They realized that they needed something to get information out in long form to their audience, which was brilliant. They had a lot of knowledge, and so they were typically writing a fair amount of blog content. But what we were noticing, and we've seen this with ourselves as well, is that clear enough.
We're cutting out quite a bit.
Okay, what I'm going to do, Linda, is I'm going to just exit and come back in, and let's see if you turn on Wi-Fi connection,
come back on to where we are. Let's see how we go. I'm just going to take over the presenting role before you do.
Yeah, if you can do that, just give me 30 seconds.
We'll give me 30 seconds. I'm going to answer Liv's question. So I'll go on screen to do that, because hopefully my end's okay. Let's go. Okay. See, now I'm going to be back and looking at everyone. So can everyone hear me clearly? Hopefully the audio is not cutting out. If you can type in the box and let me know, that would be awesome. Yep, awesome. Okay, Liv's other question is, okay, I've been told that Facebook's more good for personal informative information, but Instagram's more about photos. I tend to agree about both of those particular topics. Your Instagrams are good for your photos, sharing, and almost creating that want factor. And I say showing behind the scenes of what you're doing, okay? It's about showing the behind the scenes and showing maybe what's coming up and running sneak previews and those sorts of things. If I was, in Liv's case in particular, using Facebook, I would be talking about upcoming designs. I might do a couple of Facebook Live opportunities. I might look at taking behind the scenes when you're at events and sharing some of the things in that particular space in time. The Facebook page's point of view, because we run publications, we look at sharing our information out that way in particular. But for a client, I look at tips. So if I was looking at your particular Facebook page and I was looking at working outdoors, I might do a longer Facebook post around a series of tips for Facebook, a series of tips for working outside, or, spring's coming, how to avoid the hay fever allergies and those sorts of things, with a nice pretty little mem, particularly with your workwear in it, and then sharing that out to allow your audience to be able to share it from the opportunity. So you might have, spring's outside, make sure you got your hats on, or prepping for spring or and winter and those sorts of things. So giving them something virally that they can share on their own newsfeed, and maybe make it a little bit fun, and then mixing it up with some other content, most probably for Facebook to get the engagement. But playing timeframes and insights, it does really come down to looking at those page insights and what's working. And there is no magic pill. That normally takes 3 to 6 months for you to understand what your audience is actually engaging with. Does that help? Yay! I think Ben's on his way back. If I can't hear him, maybe not. Okay. Has anyone got any questions for me while we're here? He's coming back, I think. Now, Kerry asked me where the Facebook Live link is. It is in my Facebook page, but I will also grab it here. The Facebook Live Challenge is a freebie for you guys at the moment because I'm still learning chatbots and a few things like that. So there we go. I'll pop the direct link in for the course as well. So there's a whole heap of video tips in there about Facebook Live, guys. If you want to join it, it's a really good opportunity to be able to educate your market. And in saying that, I did a Facebook Live on Monday with the starting topic of the theme about tell people what you do and share your story. And it was surprising for me, even though I run BBB and most of you guys know what I do, some people who know me since 2009 and been following my Facebook page said, I never exactly knew that you did that much. So we take for granted that our audience might know what we're doing on social media. So remember, no one's going to tell your story if you don't do it for you. Okay, and on via social media, don't assume that your audience already know what you're about to share. Sometimes it's about resharing, and it might seem like we're continually resharing the same content to them. But, guys, it's about making sure that they've got the opportunity to be out there. We get new likers, we get new people. So resharing the content that's worked in the past is quite a good thing as well. Are you back, Ben?
I think I am. Can you hear me okay?
Woo! I can hear you. I'm going to go off screen so you can take over.
Fantastic.
I'm making Ben the presenter again.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys, for putting up with that. I apologise for the audio there. Let's start again, shall we? Don't worry, not literally right from the beginning. That would be painful for you guys, I'm sure. Okay, so Linda, again, if you could be my eyes and ears, if you could just tell me if there's any audio issues, and we'll go from there. So I'll assume not for now. Okay, so I'll start from the beginning again with regards to missing letter, and just sort of get us back on the same page. It's really all about forming healthy habits here, and we noticed a pattern back in my old agency days where we were building blogs for our clients, and they were creating great content. They knew what they wanted to talk about, but what they were doing was to market those blog posts was quite interesting, and we saw a pattern. They would quite immediately know that they would have to tweet it and Facebook post it on the day in which they publish that blog post. Most of us do that, right? We're pretty good at doing that. And some of our clients would remember a week afterwards to go, oh, I published that blog post last week. I must remind people about it. And we would maybe get half of our clients doing that, which is good. But pretty much 95% and plus would kind of leave it there and stop. And they're leaving a huge amount of engagement, and in some cases money, on the table, because they were just not creating a natural marketing schedule over a long period of time that was serving them. And the reality is that there is if we don't do it properly, there is a very, very short half-life to the engagement that we can get when we're marketing our blog posts and other content on social media. Particularly with blog posts, there is a bit of a burn down chart that is quite common, where you publish it on day 0 and you tweet it on that day, and you get 95% of the engagement and clicks within that first 24-hour period, and then it very, very quickly drops off, and it pretty much remains flat for the rest of the time. And yes, there are other benefits like SEO that over time, as we know with content marketing, SEO will start building up and create a bit of a snowball effect. So it's not all lost, but we're not. But by the same token, we're not really capitalizing on the potential that we have on social media, and that's really what Missing Letter is all about. So instead, we realized that what if we could have a tool that would take your blog content, your blog post content, and for you, on your behalf, create a sequence of social media content that we would then spread out over a 12-month period, that would take the requirement for you to be turning up every day and writing that unique content every day and sticking to that habit, would take that out of the equation. And that's kind of the genesis behind Missing Letter. And I'll sort of show you what that means in a real sense in a second. But in a sense, what Missing Letter does is it monitors your blogs, and the next time you publish a blog post, we've detected that almost as soon as you've clicked the publish button on WordPress or whatever platform you're on. And we will then run some clever technology over your blog post. We will extract some sentences, some phrases. We'll extract any images that you've uploaded there. We'll recommend some hashtags. We'll even generate some images for you, which will be branded nicely for you with your own branding, with a speech bubble style sort of layout, using an extract from your directly from your blog post within that speech bubble image. And we create that or convert that sequence of content into a 12-month campaign that is then sent to you in an email to review. So within about sort of 20 minutes of you publishing your next blog post, you'll get an email from us saying, hey, we've created a new campaign for you. Click here to review it. And that's where we start the screencast here. So when you click that link, that takes you through to the campaign. So let's have a quick look at what that looks like. So first of all, this is a blog post that one of our bloggers wrote for us called "The 7 Free Tools that you need to get your blog post noticed," which is rather apt. And what our system has done is it has automatically recommended some hashtags for you, which we can see here. We can add our own as well if we realize that we want to go a bit deep dive and we understand that we have a particular let's call it, writing or something, whatever it might be. So we know there are particular hashtags that work well, that we can add those here, and that will pop them into this list. We can delete those that were suggested if we think that it's not appropriate, and sometimes that might be the case. Only you really truly know your audience, and of course you can reorder them as well if there's a certain priority. We can click next. And now we're going to see the actual body of the campaign. So remember, the principle behind Missing Letter is that we appreciate and understand that you've invested that time in writing that long form content in the first place. And what we don't want you to then have to do is to have to rehash it and rethink, manually then look through that blog post and go, right, okay, this blog post is about X, Y, Z. How can I write that in 20 different ways that I can then send out to social media? That's really precisely what Missing Letter does. It does that automatically for you. So what we've done is we have created 9 posts. So we can see here day 0, day 3, day 7, 14, 30, 90, and it spreads out with more gaps in between as time goes on, all the way up to 365. So what you're essentially getting here is a pre-rolled social media marketing campaign specifically for that blog post that you've just published, that will be drip fed out. Just imagine it sort of just gradually being sent out to your social audience over time, over that entire 12 months. And the point here is quite important, because Linda was just mentioning a few moments ago about getting relevant content out, and the fact that today you've got 2,000 people following you, but tomorrow you might have 2,010, and those 10 people weren't there when you published that blog post yesterday. So it's really important that we do have some level of re-pushing these things out, but we don't want to do it in a way that spams our audience. So we've got to do it in a natural way. And what we found to be a bit of a sweet spot, but again, it's always unique to your audience, is roughly 12 months with roughly 9 posts going out. We don't want to spam, but we do want to engage with our audience. And so that's what we're looking at here. We've got a pre-roll campaign, 9 posts. And what we've got here is an image. We've got the text. This is taken directly from the blog post. This is the title. We've created a nice shortened URL so that we can gather stats and look at how many people have clicked on it, engagement. We've got the images here that have been pulled directly from the blog post. We can upload our own one if we want to, or remove this one if we just want it to be a text-based tweet or post or whatever it might be. If we don't like the suggestions, we can cycle through different ones here. And here's a good example of a quote style image. So this is generated literally based on your own content, and this is a sentence that we think might be quite effective. It's popped it in here, plopped in the branding for that person, and that's ready to go. So it's created all that media for you and takes all that sort of hassle out and that requirement for you to build that habit. So we can cycle through, find things that we like. Once you're happy, click approve, and we've now done that for day 0. Now, we work with LinkedIn, with Twitter, with Google Plus and Facebook. So again, you might want to send it out to all of them, or you might just have specific platforms that work for your audience. Facebook probably is going to be a common one, but it might not be. So don't be afraid to not use it, as we were discussing before. So we can create custom content for each social media platform if we want, or we can just stick with the default and have the same one go out to each platform. The only difference here is our lovely friend Facebook, and you see this little red dot here. So if you do get a chance to try this tool, just pay attention to this, because this is a fairly new thing, and it's as a result of Facebook's rulings, where they don't like us auto-populating content for you. So what we need to do is a little extra step, is click onto the Facebook and either decide that for this day 0 post, we're going to write our own content, like literally manually do it, and that's spreadsheet sort of fashion, where we just put in the text and the image, or whether we want to load the default content and use the one that we'd set as the default for the other one. That's probably what the majority of you will want to do, and that satisfies Facebook's requirements there. So that's literally all you do. You cycle through each of the 9 slots, make sure you're happy with the content, and click approve. And what we will then do is literally schedule that out over that full 12 months for you, and we'll send it out to whichever social accounts you've connected automatically. So it's a set it and forget it type of setup.
Ben, before you head off, we've got a couple of questions from in the chat box that I just want to run through. Number one, I'm going to ask you one myself. With the little at symbols and the tags, is that going out to Facebook as well, or is that going out? So the Twitter tags that you've got there for your clients, and how are you getting those in there?
Yes. So the hashtags go out to all networks other than LinkedIn, because LinkedIn currently is not a great platform for hashtags, although it is kind of starting to emerge. We will soon let you turn that off for individual platforms as well. Because Facebook do use it as well, so it kind of depends.
What about the little at symbol where
you can't edit?
Where you've tagged the writer. Where you've tagged the writer.
Yes. So this one will go out by default to Facebook as well, but of course we can edit that if we need to by manually editing the Facebook option here. Now, just FYI, with
how are you getting those in there? That's what How are you getting those tags?
Yeah. Okay. So this is. Okay, so this is a little tool that we have in beta at the moment, which anyone can use. If you run a platform where you do have guest bloggers or just multiple people publishing content for you, then pop us an email or click the chat icon that you can see down here, and we'll help you out with that. But essentially, it's a thing that we've got in beta that you define a tag in your HTML, basically. So you need to either know what you're doing or just have a developer do it for you. And hopefully you can set it once and forget about it. And you specify who the author is, and then Missing Letter will automatically pick that up, and it will pop that person's photo in there for the quote style images. It will use their name, and it will also include them in the tweets that we compose for you, and which can, again, be really powerful, because when these go out over that 12-month period, in this is one of our blog posts, but written by one of our guest writers. And what's really great here is that for this entire 12 months, we don't have to do anything. This is now being marketed for us. But importantly, every time it goes out, it's going to mention the guest writer, and they're going to then retweet it as well. And so it creates a bit of a double effect there.
I'll message you later. I want that one. That is perfect for us from that point of view. So that will still automatically go out to the Instagram and sorry, not the Instagram, the LinkedIn, and with all those tags as well, though. So we still need to edit those posts individually, then, don't we?
Yes. So as I said, the only exception to that is LinkedIn. LinkedIn for now does not send with the hashtags.
Yep.
But the other ones do. So you can edit those manually if you want to. We will very soon be adding the ability to decide yourself which platforms you want to include hashtags.
Yep. Beautiful. Okay. Cool. Thank you for that. Kerry's also asked, these alternative images, are these alternative ones you have to load somewhere? The ones that come through the slider, Kerry, are generated with text, or they're coming from the website itself. But if you want to change it, Ben, can you just show again how we can upload an image if we want to change the image?
So we just hover over the image. Just literally with your mouse, hover over the image, and you can click anywhere here, and it'll just bring up the normal browse thing. So you can find the file that you want, find the image that you want on your machine, and upload it from there. So super simple.
And sometimes I remove the images because I don't want images going out with every tweet that we send out.
Exactly. So again, you can just hover over again, click remove, and this post is now going to go out with an unhappy smiley face, of course, but that's fine. And we send it just with the content there. Now, I should just say, with the image stuff that we've got going on here, we've got some really exciting updates coming in the next, to be fair, probably the next 4 weeks, with a new branding manager that. So currently, if you are a current user of Missing Letter, or even if you're not, and you're looking at this quote image here and you're thinking, well, blue's not my colour, it's not part of my brand, it doesn't sit well with me, I like pink or orange or something else. Well, good news, we have a really cool branding manager coming out soon, where you will literally be able to select different themes, customize those themes, so you'll be able to choose the background color, the font, the size of the font, you'll be able to move things around. So if you want the face or the logo, whatever your brand is going to be, on the left or the top or wherever, you'll be able to have full control over moving that around and designing it yourself. So it really will give you the opportunity to properly brand things up to match your business.
Kerry's just said, am I right in thinking Facebook posts will have to be a manually released because they don't allow the scheduled posts? Kerry, all of our Facebook posts that you see going out, not particularly by Missing Letter, but most of the ones you see going out via BBB, the BBB group or the Media Connections group, are all automated. They're all scheduled by a third-party tool. It's about setting up the tools and finding the right ones that are there for you. So they do allow scheduled posts. They don't allow scheduled posts in Facebook groups if you're not the admin of them, though. That's about the only spot that you can't schedule a post. But it's not the Facebook third-party apps.
Yeah, it's an important distinction there. They do allow you to schedule into the future, thankfully. Otherwise, it would be a very manual process, and that probably wouldn't be a habit that we'd form. But what they don't allow is automatically populating. Imagine, we all know Buffer, right? And when you go in there, if it was to automatically pop some text in there for you, that in Facebook's eyes is naughty, and they want it to be a blank text box and a blank image upload area, so that you have to manually choose the content. But once you've chosen it, then you can schedule it into the future. So that's what I was showing you just down here. So when we click on Facebook for a post, it recognizes, it's got the red dot here telling you that you need to do something. So we can either load the default content, or we can write our own manually from scratch for this particular post. So that's us getting around the fact that with Facebook, we have to, you as the user have to manually assign or write the content yourself. And we've boiled it down to what I think is a pretty quick way of doing it. You literally just click a button and it will load that default in for you. And that will satisfy Facebook's requirements, and then you can schedule it as per usual and forget about it.
Yeah, guys, Facebook does allow posting, automatic scheduled posting through Missing Letter. There's been a lot of confusion, most probably, with this change in algorithm. It's about just making sure that the content's there. So when Ben showed you before using the default content, using that sort of stuff, it's about being there and programming it. What Facebook don't want is the automatic generation. People don't get involved. So they want to be able to see that there's been a bit of text in there, there's been a link in there, and you've done a bit of work. The same thing I say to you about making sure that you just don't post dump a post within a Facebook group, because just by sharing the post and putting no text and no why, Facebook are going, that's a spam, so I'm not gonna see it. So you've got to look at making sure that each time you share your content to Facebook or something like that, that it's got something a bit different about it. And that's when Missing Letter takes care of it for you, because you're changing up each time you share this content, what's going out with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one other thing that we do that's quite recent, actually, and it's funny enough, it's taken us this long to do it, but really, really basic. And it's something that I quite often, again, see a lot of people doing not very well when they do it manually and share stuff on the web. So quite often people will attach an image and then they'll show an extract from the thing that they're sharing. And what is so easy to do, but people forget to see sometimes, is that they are missing the opportunity to include the context behind what it is they're sharing. So, for example, if we have a blog post here and we literally just tweet a quote from that blog post, there's a very, very strong chance that that quote, as interesting as it might be as an individual piece, isn't really anchored to anything. It doesn't really tell us what the subject matter is about. And so we're not really helping our audience by saying, hey, look, this is an interesting quote, but this is what it's about. And that's something that Missing Letter also helps you with. So what we do is we have these new pairing rules, as we call them, where we will always make sure that if we have a quote in the image, like we've got here, then we will make sure that the text part of it, this bit here, includes the title of the blog post, and vice versa. So if we have a quote extract in the text, we will make sure that the image is based on the title, so that there's always anchoring. And so that post in itself, when people consume it and read it, they can see an interesting quote, but then they know that what it is all about, and that's really important. We're not trying to fleece our audience. We're trying to help them decide whether or not they want to click something.
Now, Ben, we've been asked the pricing question a couple of times, so I think it's time we share the offer.
Yeah, sounds good. So
I'm going to put the offer up in the link, guys. Ben has kindly offered any BBB member who takes up the offer today 50% off. The link has just gone into the chat box for you there. Ben, are you able to bring up your pricing page and just tell everyone how it works?
I think I just did that. What I'll do is I will go to the exact page with the offer. So yeah, we're offering a 50% discount for life. So really great opportunity to get in here and get an offer that we don't often release for people. So we have a number of plans, and what you need to look at. Oh, sorry.
I said he likes us.
For now, we'll shut it.
Oh.
I love you all. No, so yes, it's for life. So really, we would love to get you involved in using it. So, and the great thing is you can start on at the personal, and that 50% discount will follow you for life. So if you feel you might want to, jump to one of the team plans, but you're not quite there yet, great opportunity to start in at the personal. And if you want to upgrade to the business or one of the team plans later on, that 50% coupon will stick with you forever. The only exception is free. So obviously, if you come in at free, it obviously suggests that there's a coupon here, but of course you can't get 50% of zero. So you will need to come in at one of the paid ones to redeem that discount. But as I say, sticks with you for life, and lots of lovely, cool updates coming very, very soon.
Guys, when I'm going to share some PR tips with you now, in particular about this. There are a number of you who are guest posting. I guest post for Ben. I am a bit slack. I owe him a new article. It is on my list, Ben. But I guest post for another number of areas. Now, you will have seen me do the video a little while ago on YouTube asking for your author feed and finding that author feed. So for those of you who guest post, especially if the site's based on WordPress, you'll see a little author name pop up in the guest post. You want to grab that feed and put it into your Missing Letter account. Actually, I wonder if I can show one, Ben. I wonder if I can jump in for 2 seconds.
Yeah, cool, yeah. You're going to switch?
Yeah, let's switch over. And I'll see if I can share my screen and learn how to do that bit. Okay.
Cool.
I'm going to become presenter. There we go. Okay.
Yes, Liv, with the expiration date, you were just asking about, does the offer expire? What did I do? I think it's set up for 1 month.
Yeah,
so
September.
Just about fits in with your timescale there, I think.
Yep. Okay, guys, I'm going to log into my account here. You will see how crazy it particularly is. and maybe how much work we've got to do this week. This is really cool though, Ben. I love this new feature. This is a pretty new one. This shows you how many clicks your blog posts have had. And on my personal profile, my website's being redone at the moment. But you'll see down here, I've got Clive's feed for BBB. I've got my feed for Media Connections. So I've got our ThoughtSpot releases, which get sent out on Media Connections. I've got my stuff. I've got the Coaching Circle. We've got Family Capers, and then we've got my feed in for BBB and those particular things there. So they're actually my guest post feeds. And I'll jump in and show you how I got those feeds in particular. So if I guest post for people, what I'm currently doing is on my business plan, adding the opportunities in there. So where am I going here, Ben? It's been such a long time. Here we go. Go to the site tab. Okay.
Yeah, for some reason I can't see the screen, Linda. Have you shared it?
Can anyone else see my screen? Oh, hang on. There we go.
I thought it was just me because I was a fellow presenter. I thought I'd have that privilege.
I wasn't chatting. There we go. Now you can see my screen. There we go. Sorry, guys. I couldn't see you because I was doing the chatty bit.
Oh,
can you see it now?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so this is a really main thing, guys. We've got heaps of profiles up here, as I said. You know, I've got Clive's, I've got his for BBB, I've got my Media Connection stuff where I guest piece. I've got my PR agencies, the ThoughtSpot one for Media Connections, all in here. But what we've done to do those and run those feeds is we've got the author feed. So if you're contributing to a site or a blog, and I encourage our guest authors to do the same thing, you're putting in the /author and then your author name and feed. So as a guest post, whenever you guest post, you want to be able to grab a feed of your articles so you can share them out to social media as well. It then means that your audience also finds that credibility in place.
Great point.
Did everyone see that? Did that show up, Ben, on your end?
Yeah, it showed through for me.
Fantastic. So, guys, it's one of those big things that I strongly suggest that you do with your guest posting because you want to make the most out of it. You don't want to be guest posting and then not being able to share that content. And from another point of view, you want to be the author and you want to be the author profile because you want Google and Facebook and everyone to recognize that you wrote that post because no, I can't show you now. I'll grab the YouTube video because Facebook logged me out. I'll grab the YouTube video to pop in the link for you on that guest posting one. Oh, gee, this is looking awesome, isn't it? Whose profile am I on here?
You have my kids.
I have my child who's been watching my YouTube channel. She should get her own.
That is almost identical to videos that I think my kids watch.
Okay, where am I? Guess I even put this one into. Here we go. What to look for authorship when guest posting. It's really important, guys. As a publicist, I cannot stress. What is better? Okay, Kerry asked a really good question. What is better, guest posts or your own blogs? They both have different benefits, and it's a mix of both, guys. It is not contributing to one or the other. I'm going to take my screen sharing off, and we might go into audio and ask a few more questions. What do you reckon, Dan?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep. Okay. Beautiful. Is a guest post? Your press releases on Media Connections are going out to our journalist network, Liv, so that's slightly different in particular. But a guest post is when you write for someone else's site. But yeah, with your press releases in particular, it's a good opportunity. You can get that feed from your author profile. But when you post to Facebook, yeah, you'll get the author credibility. That's part of its situation. Oh, you can't hear me. Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Linda.
Yep. Okay. Sorry, Kathy, my mic's on. I'm hoping it'll work. Hopefully you can catch me on replay because everyone else is saying that they can hear me. I apologise, Kathy, that you can't hear me at the moment. The biggest thing, though, guys, is watching that you're getting that credibility out there. In the video, you'll see where I've actually taken one of the BBB articles and it puts a little blue link to your Facebook page if all those details are filled out in your author's profile. So that's really key. I'll leave you to watch that one, though, later.
No, let's watch it all together.
Oh. Yeah, and see if the internet runs with it. Okay.
Yeah.
Ben, any last-minute tips for the audience?
Yeah, I just take 10 minutes if you can after this, and first of all, on the content creation side, just ask yourself what suits you as an individual. Do you like sitting down and writing longer form? Does recording an audio version of it work better, or a video version, or maybe you're not great at creating original content, and you are great at maybe doing more podcast style interviews, more short sort of form things. So think about the type of content that you think you can create, and then start coming up with a plan to start writing it. And it's all got to start from there, because there's no point coming up with tools, even Missing Letter, until you've got an inventory of content to share. So I would really just take the time to think about that.
Kerry's asked, are there tutorials to take the new users through? Ben's got tutorials there, but it's also, he steps you through the process all the way through, that you pop this bit in here, that bit in there. There's bits that you might, that I've got videos out there on setting things up. Have you got a video tutorial library there, Ben? Because I've been there so long now, I just play with the new stuff when you give it to us.
Yeah, we don't have a library as such, but there is an onboarding process. So
yep.
when you sign up for the first time, you'll get a little pop-up, and the very first thing you see will be a video from myself, and it will just walk you through a bit of what we've seen already, but just high level, what you can expect and how to get the most out of it. And then it immediately asks you for information about the site or the blog that you're trying to link. So it should walk you through it step by step. But if not, you'll see a blue question mark on the bottom right of the screen at all times, and that will open a chat window, and you can then chat to one of our customer support team. And if we're not around, because we're in the UK, just remember, we do sleep sometimes, then still post a message there, and it comes into our inbox, and of course we will reply as soon as we wake up the next morning. Yeah,
guys, I would say the support from Missing Letter is pretty amazing. They are a pretty awesome little team in supporting you and making sure that you get out there. We will have a replay of today's webinar up for you very, very shortly. I do thank everyone for joining us today and dealing with our technical glitches and lags, but you know, that's business and life, and it happens, and I'd much rather it happen here and you get to see it than you freak out when it happens for you the first time, that you know that even though we've been doing this a long time, Clive and I, there is still always going to be a technical glitch that pops up every now and again. The offer is there again. You'll get an email from me later on today with the offer as well. We will have the replay up on YouTube. Apologies, Kathy's saying she's losing the sound on us quite regularly. Apologies for that, Kathy. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Ben, for waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and the amazing offer you've made our members. And if you've got any questions, guys, just ask Ben. Shoot a message through the site. He will help you.
Fantastic. And just finally, I would extend that even more. If you want to email me directly, personally, more than happy to help. It's ben@missingletter.com. I'm there to help with any questions you might have. So look forward to chatting with you.
Beautiful. Thank you very, very much for joining us, guys. We appreciate everyone being here, and have a great week.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.